This is a WKYT podcast.
Hey everybody, I am Chris, and that is...
Hi, I'm Jim.
That's Jim.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, my friend? Long time no talk to.
Well, it has been a little while. So I'm adjusting my mic over
That's
here.
okay.
It fell apart on me.
Yeah. Listen, I feel like your mic some days.
Just falling apart, baby. Just falling apart.
This is the Kentucky Weather Podcast, and we are entering spring severe weather season.
And already have, not necessarily around here, already had a major event to our south.
We did. Western Kentucky, 2 tornadoes. Obviously, the Nashville tornado, rightfully so, over to Cookeville, Tennessee, getting all the attention. I mean, what an absolute monster of a storm that was. That supercell that rolled from Nashville all the way to Cookeville, which is roughly 70 miles as the crow flies.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
And this goes to show folks that often think, oh, tornadoes don't hit big cities. For some reason, people thought that.
Right.
Look what's happened here. It's just devastating.
Yeah, and it's not the first time Nashville has been hit by a tornado.
Exactly.
In April of 1998, they had a tornado roll right across the downtown area, too. It wasn't quite as strong as this one, but it was still plenty strong enough.
I mean, this one was tough,
Yeah.
and it went through some big residential areas, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got in that morning, and then started seeing some. Of course, you and I had been texting.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing just the stuff after the little sun came up, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awful.
It was destruction. I mean, it was catastrophic, and the strongest so far I've seen was Cookeville, EF4.
Right.
At 170 plus miles an hour.
All right, now EF4, think back to McGoffin County,
Right.
for March 2nd,
Yep.
2012, it was 140 miles per
Right.
hour. 160 miles
160
per hour.
in Sayersville, 140, I believe, West
In
Liberty.
West Liberty.
Yeah, those were EF3s.
So, I mean, and we saw the damage. Both of us saw that firsthand. Now, just
Absolutely.
imagine what 170 plus is going to do.
Yeah, and to see that that tornado outbreak down there occurring the evening and night of March 2nd.
Right.
8 years after those devastating tornadoes hit Kentucky and surrounding areas. I mean, unreal to see that unfolding again. And here in Kentucky, we missed most of that.
Yeah.
Central and eastern Kentucky, we had 2 tornadoes in the west, one in Bowling Green. South of Bowling Green, I believe it was an EF2. And, and that was well east of the tornado watch.
Right.
No tornado warning, nothing issued for that one.
And it was so reminiscent of watching those storms develop, for us.
Yeah.
We have that personal connection, to March 2nd, 2012. But no comparison. I mean, 20-some people, and maybe the number continues to climb.
Yeah,
over
unfortunately
time
it may. And that night, and on Twitter, I rarely tweet about anything that's not Kentucky weather or basketball, or at officiating. But when I'm seeing that, knowing I've got some, maybe a handful of followers in Tennessee, but still, I mean, my goodness, I was seeing that on radar, and I was just like, okay, that's going to be a catastrophic tornado. I mean, and seeing it, the velocities were just off the charts on that.
One of your tweets was the first one I saw with velocity when I got up that morning.
The couplet that you were seeing on that was just insane. And if you looked at the correlation coefficient, a new thing with radars that they can look inside, and basically the radars can kind of differentiate precipitation type based on that, and they can also show you where debris is.
Yeah.
And you were seeing that debris ball, and there was even a little inflow notch going into that where it was picking up maybe a little bit of debris as well. Because if you recall back in the Sayersville tornado especially had a bit of an inflow damage just from the inflow, not from the tornado itself, because the inflow is so strong into that.
I mean, you're talking about a strong little section of wind.
Yeah.
That's what an inflow is. That's what he's talking about.
It's pulling that wind into it.
And just incredible. But you're right. With the new dual polarization, well, it's not new anymore.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, we're still learning things about it.
Sure,
how
absolutely.
good it is.
Yeah.
Because the technology still is new for us.
Yeah, and each time it gets some kind of unique situation we haven't really seen much of before, you're learning, so it can differentiate this as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the process, with anything,
Oh, sure. Yeah, it takes a little while to, kind of master, if you will.
And in years, again, this have been implemented for years now, but again, just like this situation, you learn a little bit more and learn a little bit more. But you had some good lead time on some of these storms that
They
night.
did, especially east of Nashville.
Yeah.
Now, going back to that storm as it approached Nashville, there were tornado warnings with it probably for a solid hour. And then the National Weather Service in Nashville, I guess they saw some relaxation in the rotation, so they dropped it to a severe thunderstorm warning before it got to Nashville. So initially that was a severe thunderstorm warning for Nashville. Then I guess that rotation tightened up again, and the tornado warning came out. And in situations like that, we like to always talk about erring. If you're going to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
And my thing is, like, you see tornadoes, supercells like that, they cycle. They cycle.
They do, absolutely.
And that's what that one was doing. And it's like, okay, you know what? It's the middle of the night. Let's keep a warning going just to be safe, in case that thing cycles back.
Because people do.
And,
when they change their mindset.
Right, and this isn't a knock on anyone, because obviously they're in a severe weather mode at that time, and they're watching numerous different things. But it's one of those where too, storms occurring at night. Boy, you got to get people's attention. You got to get people's attention. That's the key.
Because the mind goes, when you hear severe thunderstorm, like, oh, that's not bad. But you and I both know that those can be just as bad or as problematic. You know?
And now there's a different classification for severe thunderstorms, because they can put tornado possible.
Yeah.
But you know what? People, they don't really see that part of it. They just see severe thunderstorm warning.
Right.
And that's what they'll always see.
It's great in theory.
Yeah, in theory. But
you're not.
Yeah, and and one of the things, this is what we talk about a lot of times, and again, we kind of do things differently around here. I'm much more people oriented, and just trying to, and you are too, and I'm just talking about all of us, and there are a lot of other people that have this mindset. It's not just us, but it's like, you know what? I'm not doing things to appease another meteorologist or anything like that. I could really care less. No offense to anybody else, but you know what? At the end of the day, we're all here to serve the public. And it doesn't matter how we do that, as long as we're doing it to the best case scenario for them, not for us. It's like you'll hear some people, and if you post, I go back to those snowstorms of 2015 that were, by the way, 5 years ago. Right now, one of them.
Right, I was looking at some old pics today. Yeah,
you post some of those snowfall totals from a model like 3 and 4 days out or whatever, and it's like, oh, that just I've literally seen other services say, you know what, all they're doing by posting these, that just means we have to take more calls from people. Well, guess what? That's your job.
Right.
We're here to serve the people.
That's what we're
come on.
We're not doing it just for ourselves.
Right. I'm not doing it to go to a conference and get a pat on the back and say, hey, we all got that one wrong, didn't we?
And that's what happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
You and I, we both get into this mode where if I start seeing there's a big rain event next week, I start talking about it. If it's on Monday, I start talking about it on the Monday before.
And you know what? We're kind of talking about it now, because there could be a lot of rain next week again. Repeat thunderstorms.
Started using graphics again. Same old setup, and we were both concerned about this week featuring that. But that system dropped to the south, and that's fine. You know what? We told you about it.
Right.
And then when the forecast changed, we told you about that
too. Exactly. But guess what? You still got 1 to 3 inches of rain.
That's right.
We still got a lot of rain. Had you got that next system to come through here with a 2 to 4 inch rainfall on top of that, you'd have been in a world of hurt.
You'd have been in the situation that we were looking at last week.
Right.
But
thankfully we didn't.
But it's good to be ready for that as a scenario. And that's what we've been doing more and more of in our research that we've been looking at shows that.
And this is the thing I wish, other meteorologists from, the National Weather Service, everything, if they could look at the research about what people want and what they expect and what they understand. You got to give the public some, give them their due. They understand that the weather changes.
Yes,
just because we're this week talking about, hey, we got to be watching next week for the possibility of heavy rain again. Well, you know what? They're going to be like, okay, I get it. And then, let's say Monday and Tuesday, we are saying, okay, hey, this system is staying to our south. Thank goodness. They're going to be like, yeah, thank goodness. Whew. It's not like they're going to be, oh, you guys suck. You were right.
Right. We're just getting you ready for that possibility. And then we back off.
Yeah.
When we see it changing.
Or we go full steam ahead.
Right.
I mean, there have been many cases.
It's a little bit worse than we thought it was going to be. As we got closer, it's getting worse, guys.
And that's happened many times before as well.
Right. It's just like at the time of this recording, there's a little snow event about to happen. We're recording this on the 5th of March when we're recording this. And the event's about to come through here on Friday. It has a little potential to bring some light accumulation.
Right, again. And for the most part this week, we just talked about a small chance. Well, guess what? That small chance now tomorrow or, on Friday afternoon or Friday morning, Friday afternoon, may drop some light accumulations in the east.
Right.
Okay, so we didn't say it was going to have accumulation 3 or 4 days ago.
Right.
But you know what? The day before, hey, okay, we see it now.
We're buying into it. We believe it.
But yet, we said all week long, some flakes on Friday.
That's right, because that signature has been there. Now
It's been there all the time.
Strengthen, and then you might find other forecasts that wouldn't go with it.
And then earlier this week, too, you have people saying, hey, nobody else has got those flakes on Friday. Okay. I really don't know what anybody else is forecasting. Right. I really don't care.
Right.
And that's I legitimately, I'd never look at anybody else's forecast. The only thing that I will ever look at are watches, warnings, advisories.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all I care about. You get those right, that's all that matters, or that's it. Legitimately to me, I don't care what the forecast is from anybody else. I just want to make sure the public is getting the watches, warnings, advisories they should be getting.
That are handled by the government.
Right. The government. And you know what? That comes from they're for all of us.
Right.
Okay? I mean, that's what we pay taxes for.
That's one of the many services we pay.
Well, this is true.
we pay for those forecasts, yeah.
and warnings and advisories are the key. I mean, that's the key to severe weather season. And as we get into this severe weather season, it's been quiet for the past several severe weather seasons. Yes. Springs have been exceptionally quiet around here. And one of the reasons is it won't stop raining.
You're right.
We just get general rains as opposed to thunderstorms during the spring now.
You think back just the past, not this year, but the past 2 years before this, of course, 2018 being the wettest on record year, period.
Yeah.
Then 2019 was trying to rival it, remember, out of the gate.
And would have been a top 5 or 6 had September not gotten in the way.
Right. Oh, you mean that month it didn't rain at all?
Yeah. Right. I mean, you get the driest month in recorded history in what was another top 20 wet year, even with the driest month in history.
That's something when you say that.
It really is.
But that's what it was.
That's exactly what it was for most of Kentucky.
So here we are going into this year. We're above normal, but we're not
crazy
control.
above normal.
Yeah.
And we're looking at I'm looking at the pattern through March, and it looks warm. I mean, right now you almost have to be this, and just looking back at this winter, looking back now, you almost have to say, I'm just going to forecast above normal until it proves me wrong.
That has been the case.
I mean,
it?
You have to.
Yes.
You just can't anymore. I mean, like this little cold shot that's coming in. It's like every other cold shot. It's one and done.
That's it.
That's it. The mild air, this pattern for the past 2 or 3 years has been about as stable as you're ever going to see.
And I know that's
crazy.
It's hard to believe what he's saying, but it has been.
It's been a stable pattern.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to get your shots of rain and cold, but overall stable.
Overall, the pattern across North America has been very stable. Now, this winter, it did show little signs of change. People around here are going, well, it didn't change for us. It was still warm. True, but you know what? Alaska had a brutal winter, where before they weren't, and the plains and the high plains, where last winter had just, crazy cold and snow, this year wasn't nearly as bad. So the pattern did show a little sign of change this year. So we'll see if that carries over into March and into spring and summer.
And of course, remember back in this past summer, Alaska, record heat.
Yeah. And they had just a brutal winter that followed.
Yeah.
So they finally built their snowpack back up, at least a little bit,
And that's been something that lacking,
Yeah. And then, then you see Antarctica.
It's a tough one to say.
It is. Because, you have some people say the Arctic or the Arctic.
Yeah,
I'm an Arctic guy.
The C's in there for a reason, I think, right?
They hit, 65 degrees, I think, the other day?
Warmest
temperature they've ever recorded.
Yes.
And I saw, it's not just in North America. Moscow had the warmest winter in recorded history, and their records go over 200 years.
Yes, it's incredible. And
it was their first winter they averaged, I believe, above freezing or freezing.
That's wild. You're right.
It really is. Yeah.
And when you're talking about Russia, you're talking about the coldest place in the world.
Right.
You get out there in Siberia, you're talking coldest on the entire planet.
Right.
Most people would say it's Antarctica. No, it's not.
And with that warm weather, I would imagine vodka sales were down this winter, right?
Well,
I mean, they didn't need the antifreeze to stay warm.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So we've destroyed the industry.
Yeah. That's okay. You ship it to the States, we'll take it, right?
That's right. We'll ship you some bourbon in return. Yeah.
But something else I want to touch on before we go here is that we are entering that severe weather season, and we've all been doing cut-ins over programming for tornado warnings and what have you. Tornadoes on the, actually happening, and had people just ripping you up and down one, because they want to watch their show.
You said this was happening in Nashville.
This was happening in Nashville during the night of the devastating, the deadly tornadoes. Earlier in the evening, you had a tornado warning in parts of southern Kentucky, which is in the Nashville viewing area. All right? So this would be akin to, let's say, here we had a tornado warning we had tornadoes in London.
Sure.
All right?
Okay.
And we're here in Lexington, and we treat every county like we live in that county for weather. We're going to take care of you. I don't care where you live. And it would be akin to people in Lexington complaining, which they have in other areas too. Like, it's not just a Lexington thing.
Right.
But and they were saying in Nashville, I mean, there are tweets to these TV meteorologists, and you can see on there saying, that's in southern Kentucky. And one person actually tweeted, said, I live in Nashville and I don't care about that. That's not affecting me. And literally 2 hours later,
it was right there.
It was right there. And my thing is, you know what, people? Listen, if Survivor, if The Amazing, or if any show and your entertainment is above, at least in your mind, us potentially saving lives on air, then you probably need to take a step back from social media and re-examine your life.
You do. I have.
All right.
I've got to agree.
I mean, it could be any other station in Lexington, too. You know what? If they're on air and they're trying to save lives and you're going to call and complain to them, or you're going to rip them on social media, you know what? Take a step back and really re-examine your life a little bit.
Because they're doing life-saving work, potentially. I know everybody says, there's no way you all are saving life. Sometimes you flip that TV on, maybe you're not paying attention to your phone, maybe you don't have a weather radio, whatever it might be. And then you see that, that's near my house.
Yep.
And then you know where to go, because in a time of panic, we forget things.
Yeah.
Your mind goes, what am I supposed to do? What? We're there to help you along the way. That's why we repeat those tips 30 times, Chris.
And that's the one thing people will say, well, all they're doing is repeating themselves. Well, yeah. You know what? Because we're trying to keep you safe.
Right.
We're trying to drill it in your head. And guess what? Not everybody is like you and watching for every single time. There may be 5,000 new people that just turned the TV on 2 minutes ago.
Absolutely. As they are learning about the situation, and we see some of our biggest ratings numbers. And it's not that we're looking for ratings during an event like that.
No, absolutely not.
But what we have, so rating isn't the right word, more people watching is the word to use here, or the phrase to use, because people are interested and they're concerned about their lives.
Yeah, we had a series of week severe weather event a couple of years ago, and we had tornado warnings for the Lexington Metro, including Fayette County, I believe on 2 different occasions. I don't think we got not a whole lot came of it,
right? But
we had warnings, and it was in April. We were in here, and I think it was the night of that Survivor was on. All right,
it was.
Yes. And so we're interrupting Survivor, and you know what? I get it, but you know what? Listen, you can go to the CBS app and watch Survivor.
Can.
Okay, you don't have to watch it on television anymore. You can watch, if you miss it, you can watch it there. And then a couple of days later, our boss at the time sent out, this is why we do severe weather, because he sent us the normal ratings for Survivor, and then the numbers of people that were watching for severe weather were quadruple that.
Right, beat it to pieces. Because you know who I'm worried about? I'm worried about me. I'm worried about you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna figure out what to do. I'm gonna turn on the television on because I know that there are people on there that know and can tell me what to do in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for.
Right. Because we're from the same hometown. We're Kentuckians. We live here. We have, we love the people we deal with, because you know what? Guess what? We are you guys.
That's right. We know you.
Yeah. We're not just passing through trying to get a better job somewhere else.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
We've had the options, but
this is where I want to be.
This is home.
And
this is where I'm going to be. And this is where, sometimes I'll go on rants, which I'm famous for.
No,
good, bad, and different. Never. But you know what? I expect the same level from, I guess I expect too much of people sometimes, because I expect everybody to treat our, Kentuckians the same way we try to.
And they don't.
And they don't. And good, bad, indifferent, whatever. I get it. You know what? Sometimes people get tired of my rants. I do too. But at the same point, it's like, boy, I'm going to go off on watches, warnings, and advisories. Because, listen, I ain't doing it for me. I'm doing it for you guys out there. Because guess what? Not everybody's watching Jim Caldwell. Not everybody's watching me.
They're not.
Okay? And I want to make sure that those people aren't watching are going to get the proper information from their phone or whatever else. So that's it.
And that's where we are. And there are triggers that go off to where everybody gets that information. And if they're not pulling the trigger, well, they're not getting it.
The snow event we had just, a week and a half or so ago caused, 100 plus wrecks in Lexington?
A ton, yes.
I mean, there was no advisory. And, to take care of that, the past couple of years, NOAA, the parent National Weather Service, not the local offices, but they came up with something called a snow squall warning. Mm-hmm. It would be akin to a severe thunder. Well, guess what? We had snow squalls that night. And not a snow squall warning was issued.
Right.
They were special weather statements. Nobody cares about a special weather statement. They don't know what it means. They dismiss it. If it doesn't have warning or advisory or watch, they don't care. Our research shows that.
We have research that proves that. That's right. But you throw those words in there, and it's not that we want to throw them around over everything and all willy-nilly. But
absolutely not.
But we want the proper information out there at the right time. And that turned, as you said, that turned out to be an awful morning. That was the morning that Bill got stuck on the interstate because the interstate was shut down.
All about the impact of people's lives. I don't care about your criteria. I don't care about, if we do this, then we're going to be doing it all the time. Well, so what?
Right.
If it's going to keep people from getting in a 10-car pileup on the interstate, who cares?
That's why we started doing our own thing. And it's not to go against the weather service or anybody. No. But we started doing our own thing with these first alert weather days.
Yeah.
And that is to heighten the possibility and the awareness of what's going on with particular events. Because, we may not get an advisory out of an event. But you know what? We've heightened the threat level, and we're talking about it more.
Absolutely, and and that is the key to getting people's attention. You have to get people's attention, and then you'll have these people say, "Well, you're doing it for ratings." No, I'm getting people's attention. No. I'm doing it to get people's attention.
Here's another thing people don't understand with ratings. When you and I are on for hours on top of hours, we don't get paid for that.
No, right.
There's no commercials running.
No, we get nothing. We don't. Right. We don't get bread and milk money. No. From Kroger or Meijer or the Food City or wherever. I mean, nothing. And when we're here all night, like the other night, I was here till after 2:00. And didn't have to cut in at all, thank God, because we didn't have any severe weather. But you know what? I was here in case.
Just in case.
And we do that on our own time. There's no extra pay in that. There's no nothing.
Yeah, I haven't been paid by the hour since I was in radio many years ago.
Exactly. And some days I think, oh, man, I could probably make a lot more, right?
Overtime. That sounds nice, doesn't it?
But, that's where we are. Man, we got off on a little rant.
I was going to say, this turned into a rant. This is a good one.
This would make a good blog for me. You know what? I got a lot of tweets that could come from this podcast, buddy.
You could. You could just insert them.
You know what? And let me talk about college officials. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to talk about college officials.
That's another 30 minutes right there.
Oh, gosh. We don't have the rest of the day for that one.
But what do you think? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I think if the Cats play like they did the other night, it won't matter about the officiating.
It won't matter. You're absolutely. And how far do you think the Cats go? Just one sports-related question.
Oh, I think they're Elite Eight or Final Four material.
They
because you know what? College basketball stinks this year.
It's not very good. It's
terrible.
I mean, you think back to the curse of the number one ranking. There for weeks.
I mean, college basketball is watered down.
Is it because everybody's gotten... here we go, starting to talk about sports.
But it is watered down.
There are so many great teams out there now. So many good programs,
So many good programs, but few great teams anymore.
That's the problem.
And look, name me one superstar in college basketball.
Don't ask me.
You can't, but you can't.
I really can't.
You really can. And on a normal year, you can name 3 or 4.
You're right. But nobody stands out.
There isn't one. No.
It's just a down year.
It's a down year. Yeah. We'll say, you know what? Maybe we'll do a March Madness podcast.
Maybe we should.
Listen, people, when the brackets come out, we're going to help you pick your brackets. We're going to do it weather-related style.
Let's do that.
What do you think?
You just came up with that on the fly, but let's do that.
I did.
Let's do it. When the brackets are ready, let's do it.
That and $22 now will get you a cup of coffee, because a cup of coffee ain't cheap anymore.
You're right. I make Bill buy mine.
Oh, you do? Is he still buying you Sanka? Does he get you the cheap stuff?
Oh, you know him too
Folgers
well.
Instant Crystals out here.
It's a crystal. They still make that, though. That's the thing,
All right, folks. We appreciate you guys being with us. Again, we'll see you some point here down the road, maybe with a little March Madness edition. Take care, guys.